Okay, so in this third example, I've now moved the ParaEq from the effects loop to in front of the amplifier. And what I want to do is effectively use ParaEq like an overdrive pedal. And when you think about the parametric EQ, specifically the ParaEq Mark II, we've got 30 decibels of headroom as far as the boost is concerned. And I really want to put some emphasis on how far we can take a driven sound and of course use the ParaEq to shape that further. So what I've got here is I've got an overdriven sound here that's got absolutely no help in front of the amplifier. I'm literally plugged just bridge pickup straight into the rev, and there's no bells and whistles or trickery. There's nothing going on to influence the front of the amplifier. The ParaEq is basically going to do all of the heavy lifting. So as you can hear, this is a little colder and we've got some excess low end, and there's basically some stuff that needs attention. So in a modern overdrive for a rhythm sound, what we're trying to do effectively is lean out the bottom end so we hit the front of the amp with, without all of that low frequency information. We also want to sculpt the high end and put an emphasis in the mids, maybe remove some frequencies that are sort of clouding things, and overall just treat ParaEq like a modern overdrive. So there's a few moves we're gonna make. Let's get into that now. So right away, the first thing I want to do is I want to approach the low end. So for a tight, modern, high gain rhythm, we need a lean low end. So this is where the high pass comes into play. And we're going to take that up probably somewhere around, 150 to 180-ish kind of thing. If I crank it, actually, you'll be able to hear considerable amount of low end is being taken out of the signal. So we just kind of want to find the edge of where we can get to leaning things out, but still feeling full. So we're going to sort of rough it in there. All these controls are going to be sort of synergistic. Each one has a bit of an influence over the other when we start building a sound like this. So the next thing I want to do is I want to bring the high end down a little bit, just a little bit. But I want to use the high shelf to sort of just give us a little bit of information up top overall. Let's check our work so far. So we're getting close. I can hear that the bottom end is definitely leaning out. I like where the highs are sitting. So what I want to do is I want to select a mid frequency that I can pull and sort of lean things out a little bit further. So with a moderate Q, I'm going to come down to around 250. This seems to be a problem area for a lot of distorted rhythm guitars, whether it's behind the amp or in front of the amp. I find that it's sort of a boxy mid-range frequency that I'm not so fond of. So I want to pull a little bit of that, and just a little bit goes a long way. And I want to put an emphasis in the upper mids. So we're looking at somewhere around 1K-ish. So we're going to come right down to 1K. Again, with a moderate Q, we can fine tune these after as well, but I want to just start there and see what needs to happen. I want to lift that around 1K. That really gives gives you some teeth. That's where your cut's coming from. So frequency-wise, I'm already satisfied with how this is feeling. Again, if I toggle the pedal off, there's quite a bit of low-end information there that you can hear. Things are sort of cloudy. This is a lot more focused. Now, what we want to do is we want to take the entire shape. Imagine this EQ is a shape, and we want to lift the entire thing using all of the headroom that we have in the boost. Not all of it, though. There's 30 dBs on tap. That's crazy. This thing gets pretty unruly just by turning it up a little bit. So what we want to do is sneak that up. I'm going to engage the boost, and I'm going to bring it up just a little bit. And we're going to push that a little further. And this is how we're effectively overdriving the amp. So that feels really tight. There's a little bit more work that we can do. I'm going to fine tune the low end just a little bit further here, just a touch leaner. Feels pretty good to me. And then I'm going to take 250 down just a little more. You'll notice these are really gradual, very micro movements. It's a very powerful EQ. I'm going to bring 1K up just a little bit more. So this is really convincing to me as an overdrive. We're effectively using just clean headroom, clean boost to push more frequency information into the amplifier, but we're also omitting strategic frequencies as well. So leaning out the bottom end, fine tuning the upper mids so we have some bite, we don't have all of that bass, and then we just take the level and just push it further so that the amp sees a hotter signal and brings us into an overdriven territory a lot sooner. So if I bypass, this is where we started. And then if I bring in ParaEq, that's a really convincing boost to me. You know, not quite an overdrive, but almost more precise and more effective than an overdrive. So a really great tool to have on your pedal board to influence the exact frequency response that you want from an amplifier. You definitely can't do this with an overdrive. So that's how I would use ParaEq to sort of mimic an overdrive in front of an amplifier.